Good morning, everybody from Munich, Harburg, Most. Good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Max. I want to welcome you to my live stream today. Give me a shout if everything works fine with the video, with audio. I played around with the camera a little bit to make it not as bright as last time, but I was failing with setting myself in focus, so just give me a shout if everything's okay. Thanks for joining. As usual, I want to start with a little warm up and give you a couple of information which was interesting for me in the last couple of weeks and which I want to inform you about, which is a couple of blog posts. And to be honest, I've written down something to not go over time in this live stream. Let's go over to share my desktop. I hope that's the right scene. Yeah, all right. Hopefully you see my desktop. I've saved a couple of blogs for you. The first one is from a colleague of mine, Philip Monkstone, which has created, who has created, awesome, again, playlist how to extend a SAP Cloud system with schema, for example. It's not his first playlist. He has already created a couple of them. I should show the desktop on the right screen. This is the playlist extending SAP Commerce Cloud using APIs to improve fraud detection. Philip has also done a couple of playlists already. Audio tiny bit low. What about if we set the volume a little higher? Is that better? Yeah, Philip has also created, for example, where is my mouse? Some for some others. Where is it? Enterprise messaging, for example. Yeah, which is awesome, and I've also done it to walk through a couple of things, how to set up enterprise messaging, etc. So have a look. I will also for sure share the link to that. What else? So I have, for example, a community call, or how's it called correctly? Community report. So Craig Schmel, leader of the SAP Community Relations team, is doing a community report every month. And on the 20th of February, it's time for the advocates to come on time for you to come on, in order to share your thoughts, what you want to hear, what you want to see, what's good, what's bad. If you're not able to join, we will record it and publish it as a podcast. Also, this one. What else do we have? Since our Indian friends, for example, Napit and also other guys, are going crazy with SAP Stammtisch and SAP Inside Tracks in India, I want to mention once again OpenSit, built by Oliver Cole, who created a site to share playlists of recordings for Inside Tracks. Might not be as interesting for you, who is live on the stream, but for all the others which are watching the replays, they might not be as good as you. OpenSit.net as well, that one in the chat. As we are covering, not only me, also DJ Adams, cloud application programming model, I also have a recommendation for you. Those eager watchers live might already know it, but there is an OpenSAP course coming up in April about the cloud application programming model in general. I would highly recommend to sign up for that one, as it's completely for free and 5 or 4 weeks full of content by the product managers, by Cecilia, by Christian Georgi, David Kunz, who's also super active on answerssap.com and always up to help. So that was that one. And last but not least, for sure, Tom Young is also on my list. He has published a couple of videos the last days about CLI tooling for HANA. So once you're not up to use, for example, the Web IDE or the HANA Web Development Workbench, etc. There's also, in the meantime, a CLI tooling, and Tom has also created a 30-minute video or 2 videos about that and give you the ability to start. Having sat down, let's just have a couple of seconds to... by the way, as I wanted to recap what we've done the last streams to get going with the stuff we already have, as I wanted to do a recap, there's a conference coming up in May, which is called, the font size might be too big, which is called Recap. Where is it is Recap Conference, organized by Volker Butzek and some other guys in Germany. If you're interested to join, there is still the registration open. If you want to have a talk or something, they're happy to receive your submission. And let me just post that into the chat as well. Super interesting product team is coming as well, and give you a couple of the newest features and the newest thoughts about CAP internally. And there's also free beer, which is super. Okay. So what have we done last time? Let me bring up my terminal. So let me navigate to where we've left off last time. It was let me know if I'm back. My OBS studio crashed once again. Awesome to have a stable tool for streaming. Low resolution. Let's give it a couple of seconds to connect properly, but I've also tried some alternatives, but Lightstream doesn't really work for me somehow, and it's a nightmare with Catalina on macOS. But hopefully you're back. As long as the desktop or my screen is high resolution, that's fine. Nobody really needs me in high resolution, I guess. So as long as I'm back, everything's fine. So let's move over. Okay. No way that I'm moving back to Windows. On quite a lot, stream blurry. Hey Holger. So my YouTube says the connection. All right, so let's just go a little bit over what we have. So I created a bookshop example, like one of the most popular examples we have, with Maven. Where do we have it? Archetype. With the archetype CDS services archetype, and with the latest release. If you haven't done yet, to know where we left off, just have a look at the at my playlist with the recent live streams, and it will I'll walk you through what we've done. So we have a data model, one of the classic examples we have. We have a couple of books, we have a couple of authors, and then users are able to order some books. The default operation by offered by CAP is not sufficient enough or not good enough to have a consistent have consistent records in my data model. And where am I? So for example, if a user wanna order a book, he can enter a book ID which isn't really existent in the master data of my books entity. So what we've done is we've created a class to what's up with my resolution? Okay, so thanks DJ. Probably it should work if you refresh your resolution. All right, so what I've done, that font size is driving me crazy. I'd bump it a little bit down. Should be still okay for you. So what I've done is we created a so-called event handler, which takes care of additional logic for the default operations offered by CAP. So CAP offers a create, read, update, delete, query, but that's all straightforward. What we can do now is say, okay, I want to add some Java logic before we create a orders entity for or a record for the orders entity. Or there's also the option to do that with, I guess it's on, to override the default operation or to say after. And since the documentation for CAP hasn't been that well the last couple of weeks and months, the team did quite a good job to improve it at least a little bit. Let's move over. Where is my browser? Here it is between the screens. Let's go to the documentation cap.cloud.sap and have a look at the Java documentation, and there is at least 5 chapters now. Thanks, Christian. Welcome also to you. A couple of new guys on the stream. Awesome, Stefan and Christian. I assume based on your name that you're from Germany. Correct me if I'm wrong. So 5 new chapters: service provisioning, service consumption, model reflection, and query builder. And what we're gonna do today is more or less the service provisioning. And that's exactly where we are in our coding. So introduction to event handlers. And pretty cool to know is that we have different phases, what I've already told you, the before, on, and after, but also how to implement the methods. That's all about messaging, which is a little bit too much for today. But where are we? Event handler classes. So there are 3 important things once you implement a event handler. First thing is to add the annotation for a component, which tells Spring Boot to instantiate the class plus register it in the application context, annotation context. Second thing is to tell CAP which service is connected to this class. It's not based on the class name itself, it's based on the annotation over here. For example, if we have a look at my class, it's called catalog service handler, which might be leading to, oh, it's based on the class name, but it's actually the service name. If we have a look at the service name in my CDS definition, you won't be surprised that the service is called catalog service. All right, so we have somehow a connection to the service, but now we want to have a connection to at which entity level we are actually handling. And that's a little tricky, and I just struggled with it initially. There's a couple of options. Either you define the event plus the entity in the annotation. And let's just quickly go over to the documentation once again. It also says there are 3 important things: the service, the event, on, before, after, and the entity. And there are lots of options now. First thing, as I said, just define the event plus the entity in the annotation, and you'll get a very generic parameter, which is the event context, where you get all sort of things. But oftentimes it's not really needed to get all of these things. Where am I? Poacher-based arguments. sometimes I only want to have the effective data. So I could either say, give me a list of the actual entity, or it's implicitly assumed, okay, if you want to have a stream of books, you're definitely talking about the entity books. And that's, for me, sometimes based on, or depending on what you want to do. Sometimes you need the context, which is here a little bit more specific if you have a create event context, for example, or a read event context than the actual generic event context. But that's just a couple of theoretical things. Have a read through. There's, for me at least, a good starting point how to implement the event handlers. So let's go back to where we left off last time. So we've created a before handler. Let's just delete that one. As you see, implicitly, I could also leave it out here, saying I want to handle my create event for the orders. So there's a couple of things I want to check. The first thing we've already done, somebody who is ordering books should really be sure that the book really exists. And usually I've done it. Let us just start the application. Spring Boot run. So I'm starting my CAP application written with, not written with, but based on Spring Boot. And which is connected right now. Let's just recap that as well, because it's super important for me. Which is now connecting to a SQLite database, a persistent one, which I've already filled with some sample data in my DB data folder with some CSV files. Okay, where are we? So localhost 8080 should bring up the application we already have. And what I wanted to show you was, everything's fine. I'm really stressed to rush through that we cover a lot of content which I wasn't able to cover last time. So I hopefully get some data coming out of my SQLite database. Perfect. So what I want to do now is I want to order some. Do we have some orders already? Yeah, we have some. I want to order some books. Let's just do that via curl. And I want to add something to that. I'm not really good at curl. What was that? I have it somewhere here. So thanks God, Fuzzy Finder, that I'm able to find recent commands. So I'm sending a post request, create request more or less, to my service. I'm sending JSON for sure, and I'm creating, and that's the thing with curl, it's not really good formatted, or it's not the job of curl to format it the right way. I want to have a, let's just bring up the data model to understand what we are actually doing. Yeah, doesn't really need it. So we have a orders entity with the currency US dollar and a array of items which has only one element, or which has only one array item, whatever. I'm just super confused right now. The book ID is 4711, and I want to have one book of that. Let's check. Let us just check if that works. Yeah, perfect. The book doesn't exist because my service handler right here reads the books entity with the ID I get via the method over here. So I get all orders, go over all order items, and ask the database, db run. db is my persistent service from, where is my peak definition, which gives me access to my actual database via CAP. So CAP takes care of that. All right. And if there is no book, then throw an exception, which happened here. I want to show you something which isn't really important when it comes to CAP, but since I'm not really a professional curler, let's just cover one thing which I found really cool is let's create a new folder which is REST. Yes. And how do we call it? Nice to see books I sneaked into the database. I'm always struggling with cool names or sufficient names for files. Let's just call it test.htp. And I've installed the extension which is somehow the REST client here, which is able to send requests in a cooler format, so to say. Let us just adjust that to my needs. Oh, that was the wrong one. Post. Oh, really cool. That doesn't work. Okay, then let's write it down. Post is that one here. I need to cheat. Content type is application JSON HTTP 1.1. What is that? That one here. Come on. Let's go to the Teams meeting with Max to force him to learn more call. So come on, VS Code. Application type. Oh, come on. What's going on here? So, content type application JSON HTTP 1.1 should be rather right. And let's make that. Come on. Data arrival well using things blah blah blah. /11 and then let's start with okay. So we have currency codes USD. We have items. Somehow formatting would be cool. I don't care about formatting right now, okay? So what this plugin does is offering me, it recognizes that this is a post request and I'm able to send those requests directly while Visual Studio Code without typing those curl commands in the CLI directly, which is somehow for me sometimes cumbersome if you don't know what you're really doing. It's always handy if you don't know what you're really doing, I know. So I want to get as well, let's just check if what kind of books we have. So let's adjust that to get books, and I don't need any payload. Can we somehow make that a little bit? Is there a formatter? Nope. If somebody's using that plugin or extension, let me know if there is any kind of formatting. All right, let's check out which kind of books we have or which books we have. So we have, for example, 201, and let's check if that's able to send. And as you can see, we get a yes, it was successful. We were able to create a order for my book entity or for my book ID 201 with the amount of 1. So what I wanted to cover today, let me just go quickly through that. Check. Yeah, so one thing we haven't done yet is I haven't checked if for example, let me just close that, if we have order items at all. Orders, come on, order get items. All right, and what I wanted to do is right now, for example, what we could try is, for example, let me just bring that up again. For ID 201, we only have 12 in stock. If I say I want to order 13 right now, that would also work. As you can see, I want to avoid that somebody is able to order more books that we have basically in our stock. So, and we have, as part of my books entity, we have the information, how many do I have in stock. And as I've already requested or read the books entity, I'm simply able to check if my book get stock is where do we have that? Is lower than the items item get amount. If that is the case, I will, similar to that one over here, I'll throw exception. Exception, and let's say error statuses. That's a bad request. And let's say not enough in stock. Please lower your amount or your quantity of books. All right, so let's just check if that works. Therefore, I want to rerun my application. And if we have a look at the log output, which is super interesting sometimes because I stumbled over that. When you run it via Spring Boot run, it actually executes the goals and generates everything from scratch. So it's building my CDS, or not building my CDS. It takes into account that there might be changes in my Java files plus in my CDS files, and compiles that all again. If, for example, Command T, and if I have a look at my main class of Spring Boot, where it starts the actual application, and I say run or debug here, I have to do all of that my own before. So sometimes when I have an error or bug somewhere, I run debug, and I wanted, why isn't my new coding not taken into account? That's the reason. Just do a Maven clean install or Maven package or whatever generates your new Java classes before, and then run it via this hover options in Visual Studio Code. We are pretty good in time, 9:30. Perhaps compose the JSON in a separate file, use the pretty print there, then pass it into REST client file. Thanks, DJ. Probably for the next time. I don't care too much about pretty print. You know, I'm using Java that looks ugly for everybody who's using JavaScript and the other way around. So, so we have, so the application is up, and let's check what we have here. So let's, okay, so 201, we have 12 in stock, and we want to order 13. And my assumption is now that my coding is taken into account and says, nope, you're doing something wrong. We don't have enough in stock. let us just send the post request. And here we go. Not enough book in stock. Please lower your quantity of books. The error message could be a little bit nicer, but anyway, it works. So, but we still have a problem. If we say I have 12 in the book, then everything should be fine, but still my stock of the book should actually be lowered, right? So I have still 12 in stock, even though I've ordered right now 12. Let's just go and solve that. Alrighty, so let me just think about what I have to do. Is actually, so we still have our book object, which we could set stock is book get stock minus item get amount, right? All right, and since this isn't really effective in the database yet, we have to send it to the database. Therefore, we are building so-called CQN updates for core query notation, I think. What's up? I'm super confused. Let me just have a look in the documentation what CQN stands for. Query notation. What did I say? Anyway. So, and I have the so-called update CQN and give it a entity of class similar to that one up here. Entity should be in this case class. Give it a data, which is my book, and we will only want to update one single entry, where we say the book I got should be similar to so that's the ID in my database table. That's the ID I have over here. Could also be what's the problem here? Item cannot be resolved. What the hell is going on? Should be fine, right? What am I doing wrong here? Let me just check if it works anyway. Perhaps somebody on the stream has an idea what I'm doing wrong. Let me know. God, huh? So parentheses are right. Is that all because of that? Really? Oh, okay. Thank you, Christian. I also discovered it in the meantime. But anyway, that's really strange. The error message should be a little bit more So the compilation errors in the meantime are because cap generates Java is missing some script. Nope, not missing some script. Cap is generating some classes for me here during the compilation phase. They are deleted and created newly, so that's why we had some errors in the meantime while I executed Maven clean install. And we want to run that whole thingy again. Maven Spring Boot run. And so what is our expectation? I'm ordering 12 books. Hopefully everything's fine. All right, application is up. Let me check. We have 12 in stock. I want to order 13. Everything's fine. Hopefully not enough in stock. All right. If I order 12 now, that's fine. Let us just check how much we do have in stock. That didn't really work because I've built it, the CQN update here, but we didn't really send it to the database. Option Shift O imports or organizes your imports. And let us just do and run it. So what I wanted to do, but I didn't really have time for that, is I always have to restart the Spring Boot application, but there's a so-called hot reload of Spring Boot somehow, which generates the classes, etc. again, but with that whole cap Java classes generation. I wouldn't say it was too complicated, but I didn't have time. Just looking for some excuses. So application is up, and have a look at 12 books we have. We want to order 12. That's fine. Was able to do that, and let's take into account. And we have 12 right now. So assuming that our logic works fine, we raise it again to 1. We don't have anything in stock anymore, so that should fail as well. Perfect, we don't have enough in stock. What I've shown you before, what I also want to show you here, stop the application. Whenever I have generated my classes, I'm able to simply click on debug in Visual Studio Code, which is kind of cool for me. It recognizes that this is a Spring Boot application and starts the whole thingy in the debug mode. And I was a little too early. Should be result right, Option Shift O. I want to have the CDS result. For example, I don't really have an idea what's in here. I don't somehow want to analyze what the object really is. So I want to debug all of that. And click on debug. And as you can see, unlike before, it's not generating the whole CDS thingy. It's just starting my application debug mode and attaches the debugger. Thanks to some extension I've installed. Let me just have a quick look at that. Where is my show installed extensions? Java. So there's, for example, a whole extension pack by Microsoft, and also there was some Spring thingies. There's a Spring Boot extension pack which I've installed, which is pretty cool and brings some additional functionality to Visual Studio Code. And I'm not a really big fan of Eclipse on Mac OS or Eclipse in general because it's so huge. So I really like the way developing in Visual Studio Code and didn't really have problems yet. So as you can see on the orange bar at the bottom, the debugger is attached, and I wanted to analyze my result object here. So what I have to do is to create a valid order to get down here. Do we have a thingy, so ID 207 with amount of 5 should be fine. So if you send the request, I expect that my debugger will stop there. And as you can see, I'll just have some other bookmarks still here. Don't want to have that one. And I want to go over to damn it. Let me stop that once again. I need another line to stop actually. Result row count, whatever. Just that we have an additional command where we can stop afterwards. Log it again. 20 minutes to go. That's kinda okay. Show risk client. That's done. Show decrease of stock. That's also done. POM features. Yeah. So let us quickly go back to that. So send the request. And now we're here. And as you can see, I have access to my result object over here. The row count, for example, that's all I really get from a update. And as you can see, one row was updated, and that's what I expected. There's also the possibility to do a little bit of coding, not really sure, here, and say result get row counts. Usually there should be a auto completion. No idea why it doesn't work. Row count probably. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, that's the cool thing of live coding. I fail a lot of times, only more often than you, but I'm brave enough to show that to us, most likely. Okay, so what I've done, what we actually want to do is, that's all fine, we are running locally with that application, but somehow we want to bring it to SAP Cloud Platform. Therefore, a couple of things need to be checked. Let us delete that MTA file, which I created to test some things. Yes, move it. And so what we need is some adjustments to our POM file. Right now, I'm able to run it either against a SQLite database file-based, SQLite in memory via my application properties before running in the same transaction as placing here. Is sorry Tristan for your is lowering the stock in before running in the same transaction as the place? Yes. That's also something I haven't seen yet, how to do transaction handling, but the whole before thingy is all inside a event. Before, on, after is handled within one transaction. Let me just double check that afterwards. That's a good question, a good one. So what I'm able to run it against the SQLite in memory. I'm able to run it against a SQLite file base, which we have done here. But what I also want to do is I run it against what we've done last time. Let me just show you once again, Spring Boot, and set another profile. So once I do that, my application recognizes, oh, that's a different profile than you configured here. Run it against something else. And as I've added, where's my POM? The HANA feature, it looks for a HANA database. And since I have also done that already, which you can see in the last video of my live stream, there is the whole environment variables, which is needed by the CAP application to connect against a HANA database in SAP Cloud Platform. All right, so that's all for the recap part. But running in Foundry is a little different. What I need to do is I need to say I need another dependency that Cloud Foundry is able to pick up the environment variables. Let us just have a look. Feature Cloud Foundry. And now my CAP application picks up the environment variables which is done by the service binding. So once I bind the service in Cloud Foundry against my application, the service keys, etc., are injected via environment variables into my application, which we'll have a look in a second. Okay, how do you usually push an application to Cloud Foundry? It's a manifest file. So let us quickly create a manifest.yaml. And since I'm not really a professional with manifest files and I don't want to make it up that I'm super good with manifest files, I have, for example, manifest. Yeah, Cloud Foundry manifest YAML support extension, and let us just do that. So I have a couple of applications which have a name, bookshop, has a path somehow, has a, where is my auto-completion? Anyway, should be a random route, and I do have some services which we'll hopefully see in a second, otherwise we have to do it again. So let us have a look at my space. Since I've deployed my HANA stuff already to my Cloud Foundry account space, there is how much time do we have? 10 minutes? Well, that's fine. Let us just, we can cover something else in the meantime. So I've deployed an MTA file, which I've built yesterday for some testing purposes. And I want to remove all of that stuff to start from scratch. So I undeploy my bookshop and say delete services. So everything which is connected to the application should now be removed, or at least all artifacts I've deployed with the MTA file back then should be removed from my Cloud Foundry space. So I'm not really sure which service I've created last time, so let's just do that from scratch once again. Because I want to give my application service, the HANA or HDI service, which I created via the CDS command line tool, to give my application access to the database. And that might take some time. If somebody has questions in the meantime, feel free to ask me something personal. What we could do in the meantime is we delete the services our own. CF bookshop. So SK stands for service keys, which we have to delete before. No service key, okay. Delete service bookshop Java DB. Minus F. All right, and we do the same for the other one. Bookshop DB. No service keys, perfect. Delete service bookshop DB minus F, perfect. To clean up my environment. Has anyone ever considered pushing YAML into curl and getting it converted to JSON at the last minute before being sent? Well, I don't think too much about YAML at all. That's one thing. I think that question goes out to all other watchers. So the lead is in progress. Let us have a look at. Okay, that seems like that the undeployment is not finished yet, but what we could do in the meantime is we deploy the whole thing once again to my HANA database. All right, so what I've done. Once again, I said CDS deploy to HANA deploys all my artifacts, which I have here written in CDS, for example, generates the artifacts, the HTTP CDS plus somehow my CSV files in HTTP table data and pushes it to a service in my Cloud Foundry trial account on SAP Cloud Platform. That might take some seconds, but then we are able to mention the one over here and push it then. So the save formatted it automatically because of my extension, I guess. So that might take a couple of seconds. What we also could do in the meantime is, well, manifest files are fine, but isn't as powerful as MTA files. So for example, one upside or one downside of a manifest file is that you're not able to create services on the fly. So I also have to create the services before I actually want to push my application via manifest file. And that's one huge upside of MTA files, that you're able to state services which are created on the file, on the fly. We don't use curl DJ, sorry. Thanks, Pierre, for being so honest. I sometimes feel like I want to use curl more, but it takes me so much time to get used to it. Okay, so my service is created successfully. I've copied over the name to my manifest file, and if I push that one, so cf push assumes that there is a manifest file in the current directory bookshop, and it's here. So a cf push should hopefully push the application and bind it to my service. 5 minutes left. Damn, there's always so much left. On the other side, there's something I wanted to show you which is not really ready for CAP Java, but anyway, okay. Since this takes some time to deploy, as I've talked about, well, it's a back and forth story for the confusion. As I've talked about the downsides and the upsides of manifest file deployments versus MTA file deployments, writing an MTA file is, as it's YAML and it's MTA, not cumbersome, but hard to write on your own. And since CAP want to tackle the problems of developers, they do have something in place. So a CDS at MTA would presumably create all the stuff which is needed in MTA. And the fun thing here is, yeah, somehow for Java it doesn't really work out perfectly, but for our needs now it's fine. So what I've done is I created an MTA file, and it recognizes not too bad all my things I have in here. So before all says, okay, I want to generate database artifacts, etc., or season files based on my CDS files. And once it comes to my application, which is called Bookshop Server in type Java, it generates the jar or the var file, and looks for that in the right directory under path target. And there's always, since it's a clean, there's only one jar file, which is the most current one, is bookshop snapshot jar. So, but if we compare my manifest file with my MTA YAML, as you know, there's something missing, which is my HTTP service. So let's just have a look. And that's something I didn't understand yet, why we have autocompletion in here, that it recognizes this is MTA. So I have an autocompletion somehow here. I want to have my resources, and that looks wrong. Resources, perfect, and it generates it once again. Awesome. What do I need? I have, let's just, since, well, I'll be honest, MTA files are not that easy. I want to have existing services, and let's just add SAP. The deployment descriptor. So we have type, which is, I also have to look that up. MTA. Yes, it's. Let's just have a look at one example. Existing service. So, type existing service. I just want to do exactly the same thing as I've done in my manifest file now to make it a little bit easier to compare those two things. So that's somehow my, let's call it whatever it is, banana db. Why is that false now? Let's just remove that. Resources. That should all be fine, to be honest. Somebody knows what I'm doing wrong with this thingy here. 1 minute. We'll go a little bit over time because I really want to finish that. That looks wrong as well. That's fine now. I have no idea. Okay. Where do we have it? Existing service. And we need the service name, which is, as you probably might assume, the one we've created via the command line interface. And annotation of, here we go. All right. So I say, well, the service is already existing, which is not what I promised, but still we want to have somehow that thing we do locally deployed. Thanks, DJ. That's too late. I've already done it. What I've done locally, I want to somehow bring that into an MTA file because there might be, for example, another module which is my UI, and then it gets a little bit complicated with manifest files. All right. That's it for now. Let's just check if my deployment fails. Why did that fail? Warning is any way to start a node process. I don't wanna. Without a path, it doesn't really work. So that's the path target. And let's just say copy path, do that this way. And do it again. ACF push should now work. It wasn't really recognizing that there is something which should be deployed. And now that Cloud Foundry or my Cloud Foundry controller, hey, please deploy the jar file, and it will implicitly check which build pack is needed to create the so-called droplet, which is an equivalent to a Docker image or Docker, not Docker image, a Docker container. So here we go. It detected there's a Java build pack needed. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes over. Sorry. I could also say I give it a fixed route, which is whatever, Max Bookshop, Livestream, whatever. But since I don't want to have collisions with other guys in my Cloud Foundry region, I always say give me a random route in order to be sure. Because, as I said, I'm super bad at naming things, files, random routes, whatever. Okay. I promised too much. I actually wanted to do MTA deployments mainly, but only the last couple of seconds. Then I spoiler a little bit. The difference between MTA deployments and manifest deployment when it comes to Spring Boot applications, that's still failing. Let us just have a look at logs. Application failed to start, UL attribute is not specified and not embedded data source. Why is that happening? It recognizes that is a So somehow it doesn't recognize that I don't want to run against my HANA database and throws an error that it connects or somehow wants to connect to the SQLite DB, which is stated in my application properties. Where are we? My properties are main resources. So, and usually what should happen if the Java build pack runs, it sets a default profile, or default profile is the wrong wording here. It sets a Spring profile equivalent to cloud. So we just go over what a cliffhanger. Do you want to really have a cliffhanger? Well, I just give you an idea of what I wanted to show. Actually, there was the difference, or that is actually a difference, that the Java build pack deployment or the deployment via manifest files and CF push automatically sets the cloud profile compared to when I do MTA YAML deployments. It doesn't set the right build pack for Spring Boot applications because it sets the sub Java build pack. However, I haven't found out why it's the case. So it's two different build packs. One build pack sets the right profile to catch up HANA database. The other one doesn't. That's actually just an environment variable, and Spring profiles active should be cloud in this case. And that's the cliffhanger for next time. Thanks, DJ. Thanks, Ronnie, for joining. See you next time. That's the cliffhanger for next time. How to do actual deployments, which was my promise for today. I'm so sorry. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining. Let me know if something was confusing, if there's something I could improve, if there's something I've done good. I'm always looking for feedback, as honest as possible, please. I don't want to stay as I am. Well, I want to stay as I am, but I want to improve. So thanks for joining. See you next time. Have a good day. And I'm out.